Bonjour, amenenem kindischen kaz, wabski mangan dode, ba tingin donja ba. I guess a few things. I wanted to say miigwech. Beautiful day out here, out in the country, out in the bush. Always enjoy my time with creation and my first family. So many things we're faced with as original nations of people, and that's the term I use. I'm not using Aboriginal anymore. I'm not using any First Nations. I had this debate with one guy who's very little Anishinaabe blood in him, and we got into this debate about, well, he's a First Nations also, he's born here, and his family. And nevertheless, I wasn't trying to turn it into anything about race. All I was trying to say is that there was people here first, and a lot of those people that were here, our ancestors, our Anishinaabe blood, our DNA, it's alive and it's well. And we may not understand it all as human beings, what's going on, but I'll kind of remind you as Anishinaabe people is to go out here, go out into the bush and ask for some help. Ask your ancestors and your grandparents and your grandmothers, your grandfathers. Ask them for help. I see all of these kids' remains are also being found. And one thing I could say about that is, this is nothing new to us as Anishinaabe people. Our grandparents, our great aunties, our great uncles, they've all been stating this long time ago, that people were burying the kids, they were killing the kids, they were raping the kids, they were breaking their arms, breaking their hands. And it's absolutely horrifying. I think about this, and to those parents, the ones that have children out there, imagine how that would feel, having your children taken from you. 5-year-old child, you have to give them up. That's all to it. You can't. The government of Canada is saying straightforward that you have to give up your children. You have to assimilate. And I remember my grandpa saying this to me when I was young, and I didn't understand, really what he was saying. My son, don't let them assimilate you. They want to assimilate you. They want you to be just like them. And I was pretty young to even understand the terms. And even today, when I think about that European language, that snake language, that snake tongue, every agreement that Jaganashiag or anybody made with the Anishinaabe people, back in the day, those conversations and those agreements were always only weighted for one side of the table, but yet they made it feel that it was fair. Hence the two rows. Canada flies a flag with red and white colors on it, and with a maple leaf on there. There's a lot to that. Why doesn't Canada fly that two row flag, explaining their agreements and their decisions? All of these roadways and all of these bush roads that they're plowing in right now and selling our land, selling our territory. Who's going to put an end to that? Who's going to put a stop to that? I know one of my great grandfathers, he took a cannon up the Mica Bay mine and shot it in the mine up there, Shingwak. That's what he did. As far as I know, my grandmother has told us that's a part of our family. He was one of our grandfathers. So all of those Pine relatives, I'll say, all those Shingwak relatives, find it within your DNA to let your blood boil a little bit and realize that we're still losing our water, we're still losing our bush, we're still losing our trees, we're still losing our fish. And, don't let them assimilate you to the point where you sit on the couch and be happy with Netflix and be happy with just this, I don't want to say the small things that family has to offer, because family is everything, and it depends on what family you're discussing. I know that our first family is under stress and has been under stress since contact here. They made agreements with us that made it sound fair, that we would trap the animals and get fairness, get some bullets and get some things, and but it was never fair. It's always, the weight's always on one side of the table when it comes to Jaganashiag thoughts and ideas. They've never ever been fair with Anishinaabe people, ever. and get back to these children that they're finding, I really take my hat off to them. I think of my children, and I think of my children's grandmother, who shared something very close with me while I went to go visit her in the hospital, and she discussed what happened to her in residential school at Shingwak, where she was there with my grandmother. And she talked about how the teacher boxed her ears because she couldn't speak English. She only knew her Cree language. That's all she knew. And when she told me about the experiences that she went through, I could feel the veins in my neck. I could feel my blood thicken, and I could feel, my heart having a hard time to pump my blood through my veins, because I was picturing my own children. I was picturing my own kids, and I was thinking, if somebody broke my child's arm at 7, 8, 9 years old, if they raped them, if they, smashed them in the side of the head and smashed them so hard that they lose their hearing because they can't speak the dirty English language, I would lose my shit. I would lose my shit. I've had horrible experiences in school, but I've turned out to be a pretty good individual. I do get a little lost with everything out here, but the world is a big place, and you're gonna get lost at times. You're gonna not know everything about your path and which way it's supposed to go or how you're supposed to go about doing it, and you'll learn. That's the great gift of this mystery of life. And one thing I would really love to express is that, those children that they're finding today, and it's so hard to think about what the parents have gone through and what they've thought and their ideas and their emotions, and feeling so helpless that they just give up. That's when you've broken a spirit. And I've read it. I mean, you look at the white pages that Chrétien, the prime minister back in the day there, Chrétien wrote down, the only ways to kill an Indian is you kill him from inside. That was it, because no matter how many of them they strangled, how many of them they cut their hairs off, they all of the things that they did to Indian people, it didn't matter, because we still rose up. We still found a way to be alive and to enjoy everything, but they killed them from the inside. That's what the government wanted to do, was kill the Anishinaabe people, kill all of the people, all the brown skin and the red skin people, and everybody who wasn't the superior race, as they would say. Kill them. Their ideas are no good. Their thoughts are no good. All they want to do is protect the trees. All they want to do is protect the fish. That's no benefit to them, because they consume it all. It's like an endless pit. It doesn't matter how much you give them, you're never going to fill that up. When are we going to stand up? When are the Ogichita men? When are they going to stand up? When are they going to say, time is the time is now? If we don't do something for these rivers and for these lakes and for these trees and for these animals, that's our first family. We always stood up for them. Always stood up for them. And we have to do something. We have to, and I'm already telling my children, there's going to be no deer, there's going to be no moose, and who's to blame for that? All of our spiritual leaders, how many times have you been out there advocating for the moose, and how many times have you been out there advocating for the deer and actually making a stance for that? How many times have you done that? We call ourselves the spiritual Anishinaabe people, but yet, when the heat gets a little bit hot, everybody seems to go running in the other directions. I'm thankful for my chum I met briefly, Skylar Williams, down there in Six Nations, and some of the people down in Tandanega, and they reminded me of what it meant, our strength as Anishinaabe people, how strong we are. All of the things that we put up with. I remember telling my grandpa, I don't want to go to powwow anymore. The powwow is fake. It's fake. And I didn't like it because of what I learned, where it came from. And my grandpa had a way to turn things around for me. And what he said was, my son, he says, powwow may not have come from the greatest place, but look at the people. Look at all those people dancing and singing, and this may be their only opportunity to feel Anishinaabe because they go back to their own lifestyle. So you have to give your people credit. You have to give the people credit for taking something so bad and turning it into something so beautiful. And I started to go back to respecting the ideas and the thoughts of the powwow. Not that I agree with everything, but I'm glad our people meet. I'm glad that they still get together. It wasn't that long ago it was against the law. But I really put it out, these the Anishinaabe people out there, and I'm asking you as Anishinaabe men, we all have our issues. We all have our issues. We get our issues with family. We get our issues with our children. We have our issues with relationships. We have issues with our parents. And one thing that I've learned over the past little while dealing with other Anishinaabe men is that when we get on our own path and we start doing something good for the people, everything around us seems to be that much more beautiful. And I encourage you, Anishinaabe men, to have good men meetings. Don't be worried about what people are doing. Don't be worried about how they're going about doing it. Meet and have good discussions. Have good chats. Because the guy that you didn't want to talk to because he drinks so much, you bring him around and invite him around and he has a good conversation and he goes home and maybe he doesn't think of drinking that much. We're so quick to judge and to prosecute people in our own thoughts and our own ideas, but yet we don't even give them the time or day. God knows what's happened in these people's lives. Thank God I'm not an alcoholic. Thank God I'm I do have issues every now and then with my frustrations, and I think that's all a part of our developing. And we talk about school. I'm terrified of school. I've never done that well in school, but I've been successful in life. Got a product in Canadian Tire. I've helped people start numerous businesses. And I've never asked for anything. I don't ask anything from anyone. I don't. You don't need to pay me to help. And I'll share something with you. When I was in Eastview, I grew up in a pretty alcoholic family. A lot of alcohol around, as many people did. Not just Anishinaabe people, but as many people did. And grade school was a very unique experience, and I remember this quite vividly because it was a lot different. It was bright colors and a lot of children and a lot of laughs. And I remember getting excited, wanting to do more work. And I did my work. This was at Eastview Public School. When I have to go pick my children up there, I get full of emotions. I have a hard time to go into that school. I have a hard time to think about that school. When I found out my children were going there, I wanted to take them out of there right away. I didn't want them to be in Eastview. I had a teacher in early in my education. I did all my work. I did all of the paperwork they wanted me to do all of the numbers and ABCs and everything else, and I did it. I did it all. And when the teacher seen my work in school, she told me that I didn't do it. I did it. I was proud and I was happy. I wanted to be proud, and I wanted to show the teacher how proud I was of and how capable I was. And that experience turned very, very bad for me as a child. She made me stand in front of the class and tell the class that I was lying. And I had a hell of a time with that, because now I had to tell all these children that I wanted to make friends with that I was lying. I didn't lie. I did my work, and I did extremely well at it. And from that point on, it was always a different feeling. I remember the teacher, and when I analyzed this as I got older, I started to realize the tricks that they were playing on me, but I didn't understand it then. I had a teacher come up to me, and I don't know what grade I was in, early in school. And she comes up to me, and I remember this so clearly because when people come close to me, it was always like something that I needed to remember, I needed to figure out. And when this teacher come up to me, she says to me, you know, sometimes when you brush your teeth, you know how it smells like your parents' breath? And it smells like alcohol. It smells like beer really bad. And I replied, yeah. I wasn't realizing what this teacher was doing. She was putting me in a category, not letting me grow. And years later, as I'm in school, that this another teacher, at this point in time in my life too, I didn't want to be at school anymore. I didn't want to be there. I had to stand in front of the school or in front of the class and tell the class I was a liar, and when I wasn't lying, but I had to. That's what the teacher forced me to do. And then the other teacher that hurt me pretty bad in school, she jabbed me in the chest with a piece of wood. It was a plaque. It was a plaque for fire safety or something, and she used the corner of it, and I had to have been in maybe grade 3, and she forced that plaque into the center of my chest. She was using the corner of it, and she was jabbing me in the hallway, pushed me to the wall, and kept jabbing me until I pissed myself and I shit my pants. As a little kid, this was happening to me in Eastview. This was in the morning time, and I had to sit in that school all day long, soiled. All that happened to me was I got made fun of. That's all that happened to me in Eastview. I had to ride the bus home with people, and that very, very fucking horrific and terrifying and traumatic experiences in school. I remember walking to Algoma University with one of my mentors, and he asks me, he says, "How do you feel?" I said, "I don't feel good. I don't want to be here." So my heart's racing and I don't feel well at all. He says, "How come?" I said, "Because I was told about all of the bad things that happened here. I know that there was kids that were raped, little kids that were raped in these hallways. There's kids that will never be able to hug their parents, and their parents will never be able to hug them because of ignorance. You have children, hug them, hold them close. If you don't hug them and you don't hold them close, ask your first family, ask creation, ask your grandmothers and grandfathers what it is you're supposed to do. How can I help my people? How can I create a better economy for the Anishinaabe people? How can I create, a better world for my neighbor's children over there and the other neighbor's children? How do we make it better for them? Your first family will help you. Your first family will give you answers. They will give you things to help you along your path. But you don't give up on them. Don't be fake. Don't be shy. Just be you. Be you. Go and ask. And all of these experiences, they bring back so many memories. That old woman that I spent time with in the hospital before she had passed on, and listening to her stories, it made me want to fight. It made me want to hurt people. All I could think about is my own kids. What if you heard your 5-year-old's arm snap? You could hear the bones break in his arm because he doesn't speak English. That's the reality of what our people went through, and it wasn't that long ago. We weren't allowed to make gardens. We're not allowed to make farms. We weren't allowed to gather. We weren't allowed to have potlucks. We weren't allowed to do things the way that we've done them. And I say, you know what? Do them. Stand up. Assert your rights and say straightforward, this is Ojibwe territory. You are on Ojibwe territory. You are an Anishinaabe nation. Stop taking our gold, stop taking our copper, and stop taking all of our natural resources, because we need them. You don't need them. We need them. Go to Saudi Arabia or Iraq over there and go do everything you can over there to take all of their resources. You know, get away from the Great Lakes. Get away from Lake Superior. Leave it alone. Leave it alone. Don't build your camps on the mouths of the rivers. They're sacred places. Don't build your camps on the rivers. Don't stay out of them. Don't dump your garbage in the bush. Don't dump your trash all over the place. That's what's happening. That's the reality of it. You know, people cutting all these roads into our ancestral lands. That's our first family back there. They keep taking it at the rate they're going to take it. This has happened all over the world. You know, it's happened all over the world. When are people going to learn that this is not what we're supposed to do? You know, we live in a very beautiful place, and everything that we need is here. You know, it doesn't matter how much money you have. You still owe the same goddamn debt as me. Doesn't matter how broke you are. You still owe the same debt. You still owe the same debt. And I'm going to express that more with the Anishinaabe people. We owe the same debt. And if it wasn't for your first family, if it wasn't for the plants and the animals, we wouldn't be here today. If they start getting sick and they start having troubles and start having a hard time, so are we. Stand up. Stand up. Rise up and say, you know, I'm thankful to be an Anishinaabe. I'm thankful to be a part of this nation. I'm thankful to be Cree, or no matter what it is, no matter what you are, be proud of it. Treat people kindly. You know, do the best you can. Help somebody up when they're down. You know, and most of all, take care of the fucking kids. You know, don't let the kids go through what they went through. There's so many murdered children in this country. So many murdered children in this country. It's fucking disgusting. You know, and people are going to say they're going to be thankful for Canada. Well, I think in 81, that's when Canada actually became Canadian citizens, in 1981. So they haven't been a Canadian citizen for that long. You know, it wasn't that long ago where you didn't see anybody in the bush because they knew that it was our territory. That's our place as Anishinaabe people. That's our place. That's ours. You know, I see so many people drive around and go on the roads and, oh, this is my lake, this is my river. You know, and that's insulting to Anishinaabe people. That's insulting to them. I say at the end of the day, you know, we have to do the best we can to work together, to provide understandings. You know, learn your culture, learn your language, and don't do it from a Jaganashi perspective. Don't do it from their perspective. Find Anishinaabe and do it from Anishinaabe perspective. And you know, I don't know, I just want to say miigwech. You know, I got a pretty good place back here. This is where I like to come and spend my time. We're getting ready to bed. If you Anishinaabe men out there want to try something different, you know, come give us a hand. Come give us a hand out here. We'll build these lodges and we'll start doing the best we can to provide a home and a structure, and stay away from all the political side of things. And you know, and I mean, you know, when we're talking, you know, let's discuss something to move forward. Let's build relationships with our brothers and our sisters down in the eastern lands and the western lands of us. You know, let's, in the north and the south, let's start building those relationships again. Get some trade routes going, and I just want to see good things happen amongst our people. And with that, I guess there's my rants from the bush. I'm out in the bush here, and you know, always doing something. And I just want to say miigwech. Hope you guys have a good day. I want to say miigwech to all of those Nikonzaduks that are coming across, you know, and I want to say miigwech for them for laying so silent for so long. And you know, I'm glad that they weren't found in the 60s. I'm glad that they weren't found in the 50s, because if they were, they would just push it all under the fucking rug, as they always have. So I say miigwech to all those children who are now making their journey and don't feel lost and are feeling the comfort of a whole nation and a whole country. I say miigwech. Miigwech to everybody who supports the red people and all people. And you guys have yourself a good day. Hug your children, hug your parents. You know, if you don't have that opportunity, go out into the bush and ask what you're supposed to do. Ask in a kind way. Ask them to teach you in a kind way. And I hope you guys have a good day. Chimiwech.